Welcome back to Daytime Ottawa. You've probably heard alopecia as in conversation. It's something I've heard, but you know, I actually haven't often heard it put together, alopecia areata, and my next guest is going to tell us all about it, some of the symptoms and causes and treatments, and we're also going to talk about the wonderful work that the Alopecia Areata Foundation does here in Canada. I'm joined by Sara Teskey, who is an administrative assistant. Welcome to the show, Sara. Great to have you here. And Sara, I mean, the obvious question right off the top is, you know, just telling everybody at home, as I said, most people have probably heard the term alopecia areata, but what is it exactly?
Yes, thanks, Derek. So alopecia areata is an autoimmune disease that occurs when the immune system mistakenly attacks hair follicles and causes the loss of hair. And so there are many different types of alopecia areata, including patchy alopecia areata, which causes patches of hair to fall out on the scalp. There's alopecia totalis, which causes complete loss of hair on the scalp. And then alopecia universalis, which causes complete and total hair loss on the body. And approximately 2% of the population will develop alopecia areata at some point in their lifetime. And 85% of those living with this disease face daily challenges. And these include struggling with their mental health and dealing with the public reaction to their hair loss. And this is really because losing your hair is kind of like losing a piece of your identity.
Right.
And it can lead to anxiety, depression, feelings of shame, and loss of self-esteem. And children and adolescents with alopecia are also impacted. And unfortunately, they can become victims of bullying and teasing and isolation at school. And then from there, also their parents are affected because they know how it affects their children, right? And they know that there may be no certainty of regrowth. And this can lead them to feeling guilty and helpless and anxious over their child's well-being.
Sara, sorry, I was just going to say, have you experienced any of those things that you're talking about, some of those challenges yourself personally?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really tough for me growing up. I was diagnosed with alopecia at the age of 6 when my mom first found my first bald patch.
Okay.
And my pediatrician diagnosed as alopecia areata and referred us to a dermatologist where I did treatments for many years, but then they worked for a while. And then all of a sudden, when I was 10 years old, I ended up losing all of my hair on my entire body within a few weeks. And that was really devastating. And I was a competitive dancer at the time, as you can see in those photos.
Yeah.
And it was just really scary to get up on stage and continue doing the things that I love to do. Even going to school was really challenging because I was afraid of being bullied or teased or just rejected by my friends. Yeah, it was definitely a very tough time and a lot of anxiety for both myself and my parents.
Tell me about your connection or introduction to the Canadian Alopecia Areata Foundation. When did you find out about the foundation?
Yeah, so it was just shortly after I lost all my hair at the age of 10.
Okay.
My parents luckily found CANAAF, and we went out to one of their events, and it was a basketball game with an ex-NBA player named Charlie Villanueva, and he actually has alopecia areata himself, and so we were able to meet him, and I was able to meet other children with alopecia, and my parents were able to meet other parents. And it was just a really relieving experience all around, just to know that there was a community out there that we could turn to for support and for information and guidance. And just to know that, you know, we had somewhere to go and a community to be a part of. And so over the years, we continued going to CANAAF events, and we grew to cherish CANAAF like a family.
Right.
And so today, I don't think I would have the confidence I do today in my alopecia without CANAAF.
Yeah, what services does CANAAF offer then?
Mm-hmm. So CANAAF is a Canadian registered charity, and we provide supportive services to help Canadians with the daily challenges of living with alopecia areata. And so as a charity, we rely solely on public donations to make what we do possible. And so some of the things we offer are education, wig resources, treatment updates, online and in-person support groups, a mentorship program where children and adults can connect one-on-one with a volunteer for support, And we also host an annual conference in Ontario every year, and it's called Come Together.
Yeah, and that's
Another
coming up.
thing,
That's coming up March 22nd. Is that right?
no, that's coming up in July,
Oh,
actually,
in
July
July. Okay,
21st to
okay.
23rd.
It's the
Yes.
podcast that you're launching March 22nd. My apologies.
Yes.
So, I mean, for the
No worries.
conference, is it only people within the field of treatment, or is it people that are also like yourself living with alopecia areata that go to the conference?
So it's an annual awareness and support conference.
Okay.
So it's basically a weekend for all ages who are part of the alopecia community to come together and find support. And so individuals and families impacted by alopecia can connect with others and receive information and advice, enjoy activities, recreational and social events, support sessions, and stay up to date on research and treatments.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I did mention that March 22nd. So, yeah, that is the launch of the podcast. Tell me the idea behind that, Sara.
Yeah, so CANAAF is really excited to be launching a podcast. We're calling it Alopecia's Audacity, and it's launching next Wednesday, March 22nd, and will be available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And the podcast is co-hosted by myself and two of CANAAF's board members, Crystal Malcolm and Lauren Harrison. And Alopecia's Audacity is really a space for us to share our personal stories and bring other members of the community into the podcast to do the same, and to just raise a little awareness about what it's like to live with this disease.
Sarah,
And so,
sorry, I just as we're running out of time, I know you have local supportive services available here in Ottawa for adults and children. Can they find all that information on the website?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We have a couple support groups, one for adults and one for children in the Ottawa area.
Excellent.
And we also have support groups across Canada too.
Terrific. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. Really appreciate it. We'll be right back after this.